think I have enough time based on history, just like Senator Kavanaugh was saying, and then suddenly, boom, you get your picture taken.
Officer, any retorts to that retort?
The only thing that I can say is I've been an officer for 18 years and going to court several times on these cases. Yellow does not mean continue through, yellow means stop according to the judges.
Well, Mr. Chair and Officer, as far as I know, yellow means caution. I can remember my daughter being in her car seat behind me when she would see a yellow light yelling out, "Yellow means caution, yellow means caution." And so that means slow down. It doesn't mean stop. Red means stop.
Officer.
Follow up with what is that if you do not think that you have enough time to make it through that yellow light, then you should stop.
But Mr. Chair and Officer, that's the point, is people are being, are unable to know how long they have because those are being set by transportation departments that the general public has no idea how long or short those lights will be.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I've been quiet over here for a while, and I need to.
Senator Contreras, do you have a question for this officer, or can I relieve him of his duty?
It's going to be, Mr. Chair.
Do you have a question for him specifically?
Yes, I do have a question for him.
Thank you, Senator Contreras.
Mr. Chair, Officer, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. Officer Green, you said? Okay. I guess we're losing the point here, and can you please answer this question? Are these lights, I don't care how long that yellow light is, are these lights, these red light runners or whatever, wherever we have this photo enforcement, are they put there due to the accidents that have been caused in that intersection, or are they is it a speed trap? What are we looking at here? Are we looking at it for a speed trap, or are we looking at it for the multitude of accidents that we have had in that intersection and trying to save lives?
Officer.
Senator,
Yes.
that is exactly what the city challenge does with our intersection. We put them at a high rate intersections where we have the most collisions.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Officer, so
Senator Ward.
have rear end collisions gone down in those intersections?
Officer.
Rear end.
That I cannot answer, no.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Now, I don't see you on the docket here to speak, so if you did not, would you kindly find somebody and log in so your testimony will certainly be official. Now, if we can recall Mr. Bonacci and Mr. Butler. Members, are there any other questions for the City of Mesa for one of these two individuals specifically? Senator Ward. Pick your poison.
I'm not sure who wants to answer, but you guys can, I would like to know if the rear end collisions have gone down. I see that the statement was 30 accidents went down by 37%, serious and minor injury. Does that include rear end in those areas? I'd like to know, you want me to save my questions in order?
Well, Senator Ward, so I guess Mr. Bonacci can ask you. Let's tackle that one first. Rear end stats, do you have them?
Chairman, Senator Ward, we combine all accidents, so we don't break them down specifically. All accidents in the city of Mesa are down 37%.
And Mr. Chair, and so the ones in the red light areas, are those just overall decreased accidents or only in those enforcement areas?
Mr. Bonacci.
Chairman and Senator Ward, the decrease in accidents are citywide. In the intersections where our traffic control devices, our photo enforcement cameras are, in the direction of travel of the cameras, they are down 66%.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Bonacci, that's why I'm asking about the rear end. You don't have any rear end data for people that are stopping suddenly because they don't think they can make it through the yellow light, and then they stop and the person behind them whams into the back of them because they're not really traveling at that point, they're stopped.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ward, we don't break them down by rear end, angle, speed related. We've combined them all as one group, a 37% reduction in accidents throughout the city.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Bonacci, none of that's from better law enforcement officer work out on the streets? That's all from the cameras?
Mr. Bonacci.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ward, it's one tool that we use. I can't say all of it's by photo enforcement. none of it's by photo enforcement. It's a combination of engineering of the intersections, it's a combination of photo enforcement cameras, it's a combination of the officers also enforcing the traffic laws.
I have Mr. Chair.
Senator Ward.
Another question, on a different topic. Mr. Benacci, you said that speed went down by 8 miles an hour during school and 5 miles per hour after hours. Have there been a decreased number of accidents in that area or just an increased number of tickets?
Mr. Benacci.
Chairman and Senator Ward, since the cameras have gone in, there have been no accidents in those locations where the school zones had the cameras that would decrease the speeds before or during school and after and before school hours. We had a fatal accident there prior to of a student crossing the street. There have been none.
And so, Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci, so I don't know about that fatal accident. Was that person speeding through the intersection? And how many other accidents were there in those school zones beforehand? Has there only been one?
Mr. Benacci.
Chairman and Senator Ward, I don't have the figures on the befores, but the investigation was that the person driving through there was over the speed limit. I didn't say it was excessive speed, over the speed limit, and distracted.
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you. I've got another question. Is that okay?
For Mr. Benacci.
Yep. Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci, in terms of the monitoring the speed, are you monitoring every single person who goes through that school zone or just the people who are breaking the law?
Mr. Benacci.
Chairman and Senator Ward, we only cite the people that are 11 miles an hour over the speed limit. It's a 24-hour streaming video. We do not capture on still photos anyone that is passing through there unless they actually break the speed limit of 11 miles an hour over the speed at the time they pass through there.
But Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci, you do have video of every single person, law-abiding or lawbreaker.
Mr. Benacci.
Just yes or no?
We have video, yes, but it doesn't, we don't always have photos of the person driving, just the vehicles.
But Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci, video is photo. I mean, you can zoom in on one screen, you can have a photo of that individual, that innocent individual, which it comes to the crux of why I'm offering this, is that it's unconstitutional to invade the privacy of people who are not breaking the law. And Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci, just one more. You said you use these to solve other crimes. So people who aren't breaking the law and are going through the intersections and are being videoed are subject to lack of due process, really, because those are without a warrant. You can utilize those, or that's only with a warrant.
Mr. Benacci. And then we can see that point from Senator Contreras. And then a question from Senator McGuire. Yes, Mr. Benacci.
Senator Ward, videos are used in investigations to help solve crimes and accident investigations.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Benacci.
Well, Senator Ward, if I can go
With a
to...
warrant. I just want to get my question in. With a warrant or just, okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Contreras, do you still have it to that point? Or
Yes, it is.
Okay, Senator Contreras.
Mr. Chair, committee, as you mentioned, as she mentioned to you that the cameras are always streaming. So are the cameras when I walk into Costco. So are the cameras when I walk into Circle K. So are the cameras when I walk into any other establishment out there. Right now, these cameras inside committee, the cameras all around the Capitol. There's cameras everywhere. So at what point, where do we draw the line? I mean, if we're gonna come out here and say, well, these people are always streaming, well, they're streaming all over the place. And I'm sure in Lake Havasu, they're all over. I mean, I've been over there. I've gone out to the lake and stuff like that. All the hotels right there on the strip. I mean, when we're out there having fun, I mean, there's cameras all over wherever we go in Pinal County and everywhere else. So Mojave County, Maricopa County, I guess that's an unfair fight because that's always happened.
And Senator Contreras, I'm going to guess that Senator Ward is going to say, well, those are private industries and you have a right You can choose not to go into Costco if you don't want to. You can't necessarily choose to drive down a street if it's the only street in town. And if you choose not to frequent that facility that has cameras, you can choose not to frequent it. However, when a city or a law enforcement agency puts it up, you don't have that choice. But Senator McGuire, is there something you want to add to that before I'm sorry, Senator Ward, is there something you want to add to that before I go to Senator McGuire?
No, Mr. Chair, you summarized that perfectly.
Thank you. Senator McGuire, a question for Mr. Bonacci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just Mr. Bonacci. My question would be, has there been any polling data accumulated? I'm hearing a lot about local control. I don't know any other way to get down to the nitty-gritty grassroots local element other than the citizenry of these communities, cities, and towns. So is there any polling data that's been taken as to the preference pro or con with regards to these cameras?
I think that's a Mr. Butler question. Mr. Butler, give a direct, quick, concise answer.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, yes, we have local elections, and the people who have installed the photo enforcement system, who continue to vote year after year to maintain the system as a tool for law enforcement, have been reelected and continue to get elected, and hear from our citizenry that they like having this tool for law enforcement. Because just as you are taking testimony today, they take the same testimony in public meetings, at city council meetings all across the state, where they choose then whether to employ the system or not.
Senator McGuire.
And we all know that voter turnout has been relatively low. So I would not consider that a fair polling mechanism with regards to these cameras. So my question again is, has there been any notices going out, or is there any type of an informal or formal poll that has been placed out there for people to comment? Some people don't vote, but they still have a position on stuff that affects their everyday life.
Mr. Butler.
Mr. Chairman and Senator, just as this committee has every legal right bestowed upon the Arizona Constitution to take action today on the bill, our city councils have every due right to take action too, and so they would not use a public poll to decide public safety. Mr. Chairman and Senator.
Mr. Butler, I would contend there's many public polls in this state that affect legislators sitting up here and how they vote on things. I would agree with Senator McGuire. I would not use simple elections as that data. But Senator McGuire, I believe he's saying no, he does not have that specific answer to your question or specific poll. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Thank you. So we're going to move on now, members. We're going to move on to Stan Barnes, who is speaking against the bill. Mr. Barnes, head on down. Please kindly keep it concise within a minute, and members, let's not try to continue to ask more questions than we need, but ask away. Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Stan Barnes of Cover State Consulting Group. Thank you for admonishing your panel not to badger the witness as I stand here. It is good to be here. This is one of my favorite topics. I've been involved in it for over 10 years, and I know more than I care to know about some of these issues. The things I can speak to that perhaps no one else can, I will address quickly. One is the industry and the context. I represent American Traffic Solutions. They're credited with creating the industry back over 25 years ago on Lincoln Drive in Paradise Valley. It's the first photo enforcement for speed anywhere in North America back then. Fast forward to today, my client, ATS, has over 500 employees in Arizona. They operate in over 21 states in the United States. They serve over 300 municipalities. The industry has grown exponentially, and it's not grown on money-making baloney. It has grown because it saves lives and reduces accidents. That's why it's grown. And I'm very proud to represent them because it's a great Arizona success story. Just coincidentally, the other big player in the industry, not my client, is also located in Arizona and also employs hundreds of people. These folks, in my client's case, are moving to a new facility in Mesa, Arizona. And if you go on a tour, which I invite any of you to go, you'll see them monitoring the pictures that have come in when the flash goes off, when someone has run a red light. And you see separate people, not connected to one another, take a look at the infraction or the possibility there. And then after those processes, a sworn officer gets the evidence and gets to make the decision based on his city's protocol, or his or her city's protocol. So that's some of the insight as to the context of the industry. It's large, it's growing, it's public safety, it's efficiency, it's officers that don't have to stand at the intersection, but can be doing other things. And which leads me into this. The bill needs one giant amendment that might end up unifying most people in Arizona. Hear me out. If you assume with me for a moment that we're going to have photo enforcement because most people actually like safe intersections and safe roadways, if you assume that for a moment, Senator Ward, I appreciate you playing this game with me, then a system that we have now is cumbersome and intrusive and expensive. And we don't need to do it that way. We have the system we have because there is no state-enabling law that created photo enforcement in Arizona. It grew up at the municipal level, was litigated, and we've got it. In other states that have done this, most recently Florida, a red state that decided to have red light cameras. They've done it the good way, registered owner liability way. There is no facial recognition photograph. There are no points that go along with it. There is no extravagant fine that goes along with it. The costs to the system are low. The efficiencies are high. There's no gaming of the system, the way people game the system in Arizona. Registering cars and corporations with their spouse's name or what have you. Everybody is on to that. There is none of that in the other system. And there are no process servers chasing you at home. The system we've got, I empathize, is a bad system, except it does one thing very well. The public safety component of it is real and supported by Arizonans. If this legislature, with some of its angst about the intrusiveness of this system, were to amend it, were to reform it by removing the points and the facial recognition and the process servers and all that business, lowering the fine, you would get a whole recognition you'd get a reward from voters who want public safety but don't want the system we've got now. And I'll end my testimony with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Mr. Barnes, do you know of any states that have repealed photo radar as this body is considering year after year doing?
Mr. Chairman, it's a very good question. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I think that has happened before, but I cannot attest to it.
And I'm assuming, Mr. Barnes, you will not be able to answer this question, but whoever's going to come up to speak, if they're going to know this answer, I'd like to hear it. If there is a state that repealed it, do we know the data from the state? Are they more safe, the same amount of safe, or less safe in terms of accidents? Now, I see a big head nodding over your left shoulder. I don't know who it is, because I can't see his face.
I'll bet you can get.
Pardon? And I don't think he wants to come up, but would you have that answer?
Mr. Chairman, you certainly can find it.
Thank you.
You don't have to look any further. I'll get you next. You don't have to look any farther than the state of Arizona. We've had municipalities that have had it and then have decided, Senator McGuire's question, to repeal it. And I don't know the stats and safety in those cities, but we've got it right here in Arizona for you to consider.
Okay, fair enough. And I think same thing with our freeways. We could probably, if we had a DPS officer, that maybe get a test that. But I digress. Senator Ward.
Mr. Chair, thank you, and thank you, Sam, for being here. Thanks for talking to me yesterday. I appreciate it. I just have a question about if I am sponsoring this bill to get rid of photo radar, why would I want to make it easier to